came in and I took a little bit of each thing that they said. Okay? So I want to thank you again for being here today, and I want to thank BDPA for putting this program together. What you're doing by being here, this is the first step in creating these soft skills. This is the first step in caring about yourself and what you're doing to put yourself on a positive path and where you want to go. You may not know exactly what state you want to end up in, but you know you want to be in the United States. Okay? Everybody with me? Great, thank you. Is line of sight here or?
No, it'll work. Just, I think you're pushing the wrong button. There's a lower button.
Okay.
There you go.
Great. So in starting out and talking about some technology soft skills, so are you picking your path? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What do you want to become? These are hard questions to ask yourself at a young age, 15, 16, 17, right? These are tough questions to ask, for us to ask of ourselves at a young age. What's our path going to be? What do we want to do? Where do we want to go? Do we want to live here? Do we want to live in another state? Right? You hear people say, I want to live in Atlanta. I want to live in Chicago. I want to live in LA. Has anybody researched what it costs to live in LA? Right? A lot. A lot. My son lives in New York City. He rents a room about from here to the end of this table where you're sitting at. It's $1,500 a month. Just for a room and a shared bathroom with 4 other people. That's an awful lot when you start talking about picking a path. What do you want to be? System engineer, architect, mayor, politician, right? Anybody thought about it? Ideas? Good choice. Silicon Valley. It's going crazy. So I'm in California. AE Sports. You heard of them? Big gaming company. I was there about 20 years ago when they were a little small company. It's unbelievable. And now have you seen the stuff with the gaming where they have the leagues and they're putting up the where you can win the money, where you can win the championship? It's a big deal. And it's a lot that goes on behind that. A lot of people are building their own apps. So what do you want to become there, right? Do you want to be the developer? Do you want to be the designer? Do you want to be the tester, right? There's a lot of different avenues, but being prepared for it and picking your path and owning that, that's critical to the success of that every day, okay? So again, on soft skills. So in adding on to that, punctuality, being on time. Are you there? Are you prepared? Do you have your scripts? Do you understand what you should be? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the day? You heard Mr. Thomas talk about, did you prepare for today? What did you have to do to be here? Okay? You'd be surprised the soft skills training that companies do today when they talk to people about knowing how to get up, to be prepared, to get dressed, to know if I've got to be on 76 and State, what buses do I have to catch? Or am I arranging a ride ahead of time? If, your name? Okay, Mr. Jones. So, if I asked you and I said, Mr. Jones, I'd like for you to come to my office at 9 o'clock Monday morning. And my office is at 8701 West Watertown Plank Road. What time do you think you'd get up to be there?
You said what time? 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. 9 a.m. I want you in my office.
8.
What time would you get up?
8 o'clock.
You get up at 8 o'clock.
7:30.
7:30. What time do you think you should show up? If you have a 9 o'clock appointment, what time do you think you should show up? Don't say it yet. What time do you think?
8:45.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah. You always want to be there early. You always want to be prepared. Right? You always want to be punctual. Even if that person is not there and they're just walking in, you want them to see you there. Okay? Very important for them to see you. Proper dress. This is quite a challenge in today's workforce. So oftentimes, I attend meetings and I attend discussions throughout the region. What does your wardrobe say about you? What do you want it to say about you? Right? What sort of statement do you want it to say about you? We all watch videos, we all watch television, we see the things people wear. What do you think your clothes say about you? Right? Within a professional setting, are you into a lot of cologne, perfume, makeup, male and female? You ever seen a lot of people with facial tattoos? Right? What does that say? Oftentimes, what does that say in an environment? Right? Has anybody ever been to Disney? You been to Disney? Have you seen people wearing a thing called a sleeve on their arm because a person will have a tattoo? There are certain companies where they ask for their employees to put on a sleeve to cover their tattoos. There are certain companies where they ask for their men and women, if you have a tattoo of any type on your arms, to wear longer sleeve shirts. Because they're afraid and they don't want that, the message that may send, or the perception. You may have a butterfly or a dragon or your child's name. My brother has all of his children's names on his arms. I don't know what that means, because he hasn't seen his children in 20 years. But he has their name on his arm. I don't know what sort of statement that makes. Are you an owner or a consumer? Do you own this, right? Do you really care about it? Do you put thought into it? So the 9 o'clock appointment, what would you wear?
A suit.
Okay. What does this say about your brand? What do you think this says about you if you have on a suit? You're there at 8:45. What do you think that says about him? He's got a 9 o'clock appointment. He's there in a suit. He's there at 8:45. What do you think that says about him? Very good. What else do you think it says about him?
He's understanding of the business world, the profession.
And even bigger, he cares. He cares. And that, because of him doing that, he doesn't have to say a word. So outwardly, this personal brand, this says something about him. He's making a statement without even saying a word. So it would be like extra credit on a test. He's got extra points right away by showing people that he's ahead of time. He's taking time to understand how he should dress, to be prepared. He's there ahead of time. Okay? Any questions? Someone say something? Okay. So, technical ability and language. Have you studied the company? Have you looked at the company? Have you studied the area? So the gaming, have you looked into that? Do you understand what that means? Have you written down, taken the time to understand what are the questions and the possible answers there could be? Right? How many games will you develop this year? How can I get engaged in that? Can I get in the design? How does that design take place? Is it on Mac? Is it on Windows? Is it CAD? Is it rough drawing? How is the testing cycles? How would we test that? If we send it out to a focus group, should we send it out to a group of 18 to 24-year-olds? Or should it be 14 to 16-year-olds? Should it be male or female, right? And then the answers to those questions, so now you're prepared, and now you know the answers already, so you're ready to take that conversation to the next level, okay? Within the office, within the area that you're going into, what's the office language? Is it one of clarity? Are you speaking in a professional manner, right? We all have friends. We all have buddies, pals, people that we grew up with. I'm proud to say 4 of my best friends that I graduated with, we're still friends to this day. Our conversation outside of an office or outside of a professional environment is one thing. But inside that office, we've got a different sort of language, right? It's clearer. It's more concise. It's more precise. Are you aware of other cultures, sexes within the office environment? So today you have a blend of people. You have a blend of beliefs, right? Do we understand that? Have we looked? There are more women in the environment. There are more men in the environment. There are people with different beliefs, different religions, right? So you can say it wouldn't be cool to make certain jokes, right? We can offend someone by saying certain things, certain comments, right? In high school, you may approach your buddy or your neighborhood friend or your guy who lives down the street, you may approach him differently, but when you're in this environment, being prepared for it. And I would stress that in BDPA events for part-time employment, who's thinking about going to college? Okay, so wouldn't you think it would be great if before you went to college, you worked at somewhere that was in a field that you're interested in, right? What's your field of interest?
Computer programming.
Computer programming. So if you could work in somewhere that as a computer programmer trainee at one of the larger companies in the area, wouldn't that be great? So you never know, there's professionals and people within those areas, and some of us were always trying to get internships for students like yourself to come in, even if it's 4 hours a day. One of my first jobs, I volunteered and I slept on the floor in a library of a bank. I was out of college and I was working full time, but in order to still be a programmer trainee, I volunteered to work in their library and I slept on the floor. But they got me a job as a trainee in 3 months. It got me ahead because they saw that I was dedicated and I wanted to do something. I was picking my path. I was studying the area. I was learning things. I was rehearsing what was the questions and answers that I needed to do. Okay? And that's just an idea, something that worked for me. One of the things I've done along my path is I've taken little pieces of conversations that people have spoke about and added them kind of like in my tool belt, in my skill set, and taken those little pieces and built upon it. Maybe that's something you can do. The business. So we talked about a computer programming position. Do you know what the business is, right? Everybody knows Google, right? You use it. You used it yesterday, right? You use Bing? No? You didn't use Bing? You use any other search engines? You use Twitter? You use Instagram? You use Snapchat? You use those, right? But you didn't use Bing. Did you pick up a book?
Yeah.
You did.
I turned in my book.
You turned in your books. Okay. All right.
So I took the book.
Important thing right here. Know the business. What does AE Sports do?
Yeah.
What does AE Sports do?
Well, EA Sports.
Somebody tell me.
They make sporting games.
What do you think?
Make like games with us, esports room.
For a, I didn't hear you, speak up.
Like they make sport games.
Okay. Anybody else? Young lady in the back?
They also make Sims 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Which is a game.
Yeah.
But do you think that's the only thing they make? Know the business. Right? Who's the president of A Sports? Who are the board members? Who are the key stakeholders? Does a bigger company, does a pension fund, does somebody else own most of EA Sports? Who owns Yahoo? Right? Is Yahoo a public company? Is it private? Do you know the difference? Do you know what this means? And it's okay if you don't, right? Because trust me, remember this. Where you're sitting, I sat there. This does not make you bad. This actually makes you smarter. This actually helps to get you down the path. Doing this actually says, hey, you know what? I want to talk to you, right? Public or private means is it owned publicly? Is it a stock company, or is it a private company that's owned by a group or a certain number of people? Or a conglomerate, if you will. Is it a part of something? Is it a part of something else? You can own a public company. 17, 18 years old, every one of you should own a share of a technology company. Who's heard of Microsoft? Who needs it? Who wants to own some of Microsoft? You can do it. You can do it. That's one of my passions. I started buying stocks when I was 19 years old. I'm 56. You can do it. Okay. What's the industry? So we keep talking about AE Sports, right? What's the industry? What do they do? Is this something you agree with, right? There are some companies you've heard of, companies that, let's say, companies that make bombs, or that make ammunition, that make guns. Is that something you agree with? Is it something that bothers you? Is it something that you can sleep well at night? A bank. Does that bother you? I worked at a bank and they were loaning money at 18% to people. 18%. You imagine that? Now they're loaning money at 2, 3, 4%. 5%. But 18% was the going rate, right? At the time. Some people didn't like to work at a bank because they didn't agree with what the bank's philosophy was. Do you agree with it? Is this something you can agree with? Right? You said you wanted to be a computer programmer. What type of languages? In what industry? Thought about it? Systems, automation, assembly lines, robotics, right? Those are all, right? I wrote a program that stole money from a bank. And you've seen the early Superman thing where they were stealing, asking for 2 or 3 cents out of every check. I wrote a program like that to see how long it would take for a bank to figure out how much money was gone. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see what happens. And a lot of people don't think, well, I missed 2 or 3 cents, it's okay. But you take 2 or 3 cents and you multiply it by 30, 40, 50,000, it adds up pretty quick. Okay? Questions? Okay? No? Interesting? Mentorship. Is somebody guiding you? Is there someone you can talk to about these things? About these areas? Is there a friend, Mr. Thomas, people in BDPA? your counselors. Should that person be male or female? So I'm gonna break down a barrier here. A lot of young men have a problem talking with a young lady or a woman, female, about their career, their goal, their aspirations. That's not a bad thing. I joined the Y, and I was playing volleyball, racquetball. And I was a pretty decent racquetball player. And I had a match against a lady. Needless to say, she cleaned my clock. I did not score a point. Taught me a valuable lesson. A valuable lesson. And a lot of my mentors over the course of my career have been women. Just so I can get a different viewpoint. Okay? You need to have someone in your life, and it may be multiple people, that can help you and be a mentor for you, can help to guide you, can give you advice, can listen to you, right? Oftentimes we need to talk to someone about college application, right? Different colleges, college costs. What are you going to do in college, right? That's quite a bit. Anybody want to go local, meaning college, or out of state? You know what the cost is?
If I would do the military.
Yeah. That's an option. What if you don't go to the military? Where are you looking at? Okay. What about you?
If you want to go local, it's less expensive.
Okay.
And we have some pretty good colleges.
Right. We do. We do. We have some great colleges. You know one of the greatest colleges around here that turns out the most CIOs and CEOs? UW-Madison. It's a top Big Ten school to turn out CIOs. It's got a great business program. UW-Milwaukee is a hidden value. There's a lot of summer programs. If you haven't engaged in that, talk to your counselor, please. Don't, remember this? Right? Don't go to sleep on this. Do this. Say, hey, what does Marquette have? What does UW-Milwaukee have? What does Oshkosh have? What does Platteville have? What does Point have? Right? What does Mount Mary have? What does Alverno have? What does Concordia have? You need to ask that. Don't go to sleep on that. There's opportunities there if you want, but you have to do this, okay? Has anybody been to the Concordia campus out in Mequon? It's unbelievable, right on the lake. It's unbelievable, and it's 20 minutes from here. Anybody been to MATC out in Mequon? Another unbelievable campus, right? With some great opportunities. Does your mentor have to be in your same area? Right? You shook your head. What do you think?
No.
Why do you think that?
Experience can be from any kind of field. It doesn't really matter.
What sort of advice would you look for from a mentor? We're calling you now. A lot of my mentors they're not people from this field, from my same field. Even though I have friends, colleagues, Mr. Thomas back there, that are in the same field, but I also spend a lot of time getting advice and discussion from people outside of my field. I talk to a lot of physicians, a lot of doctors, a lot of specialty people, a lot of bankers, a lot of people that do a lot of presentations. I spend a lot of time talking to them, understanding. I spend a lot of time trying to understand how can I better get the technology message out. Okay? Who is this? What is this? What is this? Somebody tell me. What does this represent? What is this? What do you think? Somebody throw out words out.
Success.
And
This to me, this is you. I want to see you be the winner. I want to see you guys be the winner. I want to know that you're going to be up here talking to the next wave of students that come through. The next wave of students that want to be in IT. The next wave of students that want to be computer programmers, that want to be designers, that want to design games. You've seen the Google glasses, right? You've seen how people are able to do things with the larger virtual reality, take the phone and put it in there. Right. You've seen that? Okay. Where do you think that's going next? Right? I want to see you design that. Right? I want to see you be behind that. That's why I say, that's why it's the flags. Right? It's you being taking and applying these necessary soft skills, adding them to your technical skills and your technical ability to be able to make it to the finish, to being the success, right? And this is all doable today. These skills and discussions that you're having with people about technology, this is all doable. There's nothing holding us back but ourselves. Nothing. If we don't want to do it, we won't. I talked about picking up a book, Google, Bing, things of those natures. Do you know a lot of students have, how many have phones? Okay, so do we have any seniors? Okay. College applications?
I was going to MATC.
Is it in?
Huh?
Is your application is in? You're accepted?
Yeah.
Very good. You'd be surprised, and I want to congratulate you for that, but you'd be surprised the number of students who have a phone, they don't have a college application. Right? And they don't have, way back you talked about a plan, right? So that's a part of your plan, right? You're going to MATC. What are you going to study?
Biotechnology.
Very good. Check out Marquette. They have a bioinformatics program with a partnership. You could probably take part of that, what you're going to learn, and use it there. Internship with companies, that's a huge thing. Anybody heard of big data? Okay, so you talked about the computer programmer back there? Big data is huge, where companies are analyzing data. Everybody that used Google yesterday, guess what? That went into a big data pool, right? Where they're analyzing and creating artificial intelligence. So they know this is where you are, this is what time you logged on. They can triangulate where you were by cell phone towers. They knew what you searched. They know your demographics based upon what you searched on Snapchat, what you did on Twitter, right? The times that you've been sending emails, right? How many people are using private mode? Guess what? They know everything about you. And they being the technology powers, okay? I'm going to end there and open it up for questions. I'm open to any questions at all from you, personal or professional. I'm an open book, okay? Thank you. Questions? Yep.
Do you know anybody in the video game development field you could like put me on with?
My best advice to you would be to, there's a local group called, I believe they're called 414. Research like local gaming groups here in Milwaukee that do things. But my experience with a lot of people who want to design gamers is that they don't follow through on their technical ability, right? And unfortunately, some gamers, the reason I wanted to do this 21st century skills, they get a bad rap, okay? They get the people say things like they sit in the basement and design games all day. They can never get out in front of people. My advice to you is, if you want to be that guy, get these skills, right? So you can not only design the game, but how you can present the game to people. So how you can take it and sell it to people, right? Or how you can at least have a strong conversation about it, right? Go and get the technical skills. Don't just think you learn one or two, if it's Python or some other gaming language, right? Don't just learn one, learn three. Right? So then that way you can get out in front of people, okay? Practice talking to people about your gaming ideas, right? Talk to your friend, talk to, guy back there, talk to him and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about this idea. Madden 2K16 is great, but I want to take it to the next level, right? That's what sets you apart from everybody else, okay? Other questions? In the back, questions? See a couple of my things right here. Yes, sir.
Not a question, but just to know that if you just wanted to find out where these people meet, there's a site called meetup.com.
Right.
And it'll list the gamer groups. If you search for gaming, it'll list them. But I agree with his advice. A lot of people can write the code, but they can't present. They don't have the 21st century skill side to be able to present their idea. They need somebody else to do that. So make sure you get those 21st century skills so you can maintain ownership of most of your product, because that's where the money is.
So lastly, I'll leave you with the most important thing. Hone your craft. You are your brain. You make the difference. It's not me. It's not someone putting you on. It's not someone connecting you. You own it. If you want it, practice it. Go to events. Go to discussions. Connect with Meetup. Talk to groups at MATC. There's a great technology group there. A great technology group there. There's a great forget her name, tech person there, a woman that would be a great mentor. She's like CIO up at that level, or at least director level. Would be a great person just talk to. But hone your craft, right? Don't be afraid to fail, but keep moving forward, okay? Come to these. Ask if somebody can present, right? Your church, in front of your parents, your uncles, cousins. If they don't want to listen, that's okay, talk to yourself. Because later on, when you do have the opportunity, it's unbelievable, okay? I want to thank you for the opportunity this morning. I do appreciate it. I wish you all well. And I expect for you all to be back here in about 7, 8 years, presenting, knocking on the door. I think you can do it. I think you can do it. I know you can do it, okay? Thank you and have a good morning.
Mr. Williamson, thank you so very much for taking this presentation.
Thank you very much.
Would you all give him a hand? As with all of our 21st century skills, we want you to prepare. Mr. Williamson has taken time, as I said earlier, to prepare you, give you some information. Much of what you heard today is reinforcement of what we're trying to give you as you travel this journey. So, Mr. Williamson, again, thank you.
Well, thank you.
And that, it's all yours.
All right, then the group that stays here, you guys can get logged in.